This is Josephine Gibbs reading William Shakespeare's sonnet number 27. Weary with toil, I haste me to my bed. The dear repose for limbs with travel tired. Then begins a journey in my head, to work my mind when body's work expired. For then my thoughts, from far where I abide, intend a zealous pilgrimage to thee, and keep my drooping eyelids open wide, looking on darkness which the blind do see, save that my soul's imaginary sight presents my shadow to my sightless view, which like a jewel hung in ghastly night makes black night beauteous and her old face new. Lo, thus by day my limbs, by night my mind, for thee and for myself now quiet find. As you can see in this sonnet, in sonnet 27, it begins with a familiar scene that we all went through at some point in our life. You know, so many people who are insomniacs. You can visualize Shakespeare going to bed, his body tired and ready for sleep. But his mind is running around in circles, and this prevented him from going to the nod. He finds his thoughts wandering to his beloved, the subject of this sonnet, and these thoughts circling in his mind, keeping him from staring into the night's darkness. However, one image appears in Shakespeare's imaginary sight in what the bard calls in Hamlet his mind's eye, and this shadow appears in a shadow like. So Shakespeare concludes Sonnet 27 by saying that during the day he got plenty of exercise, running around after the beloved of his, while at night it's his mind's turn to be kept busy by this bewitching vision of his beloved's beauty. The meaning of Sonnet 27 is pretty clear. In the Elizabethan diction seems to us even ordinary and unpoetic almost in its monosyllabic trend. And we can turn then to the delicious use of the language in his sonnet in describing his obsession with the subject of the sonnet through the use of literary and sound devices. But in this one, the use of rhyme is quite rare, uh, but there's quite a lot of near rhymes, as in abide, expired. He also used quite a bit of assonance. Take, for instance, those vowel sounds. The poem's focus on the night and the mind echoed in the words chosen to end the lines, many of which have a long a sound, and using the consonants tired, expired, abide, wide, might, night, mind, and find. The strongest literary device imagery is when the author used the words and phrases like makes black night beauteous and her old face new. Diction is the distinctive tone or tenor of Shakespeare's writings. Diction is not just his choice of words, it can include the mood, the attitude, the dialect, and the style of writing. It's also understood as a selection of certain words or phrases that become peculiar to the writers of this era. Ben Jonson was his contemporary, who is often described as a very solid scholar with a wide knowledge of Greek and Latin, which was an affectation or fashion of his day. Shakespeare's diction, in contrast to Johnson, was lighter and less ponderous, perhaps more understandable by the populous Elizabethan everyday person, full of clever repartees, comebacks for us, and witticisms. So you could also say that um, Johnson was very highbrow compared to Shakespeare. So you could say that Shakespeare was very lowbrow in his day, and there's a lot of ordinary people who are quite uneducated and unlettered flock to his globe to hear his very delicious way of play with the language, play with the English words that he often that many people find very very funny, and they understand it in a very instinctive way, a very deep way. And he often used this technique of authorial intrusion, especially in a lot of the couplet of his sonnet, which is a literary device used by the author to say exactly what he thought as a point of emphasis, as in, for myself, not quite find. And it's very profound in the way that he uses his point of view here. Analogy, which is a literary device to establish relationship based on similarities, was used in my soul's imaginary sight, present thy shadow to my sightless view. And a lot of his words, the literary device he used quite often is the simile, which is used in the author's likening something to another thing, as in like a jewel hung in a ghastly night. So here ends my analysis in terms of literary devices used by Shakespeare in his sonnet 27. Thank you very much for listening, and please subscribe to this channel. Thank you and take care.